recording every single day, and after the class I'll be sharing the recording session along with the data files I used in the class, plus the homework which is supposed to be done by yourself. And along with that homework or assignment file, I'll be also giving you the assignment solution file as well. Okay, so that is going to be the modus operandi. So I hope my screen is visible, right?
Yes, yes, yes. I can see your
Mhm.
screen. Yeah.
So we will start from bringing the data from different sources into Power BI today. So first of all, this is how Power BI looks like once you open it and you opt for the blank report. And the way to get the data into Power BI is you need to click on this in the Home tab. You need to click on the Get Data tab or the Get Data icon. And under
Yeah.
that, you can see the various data sources are readily available here. And the data source which you are finding, if you're not supposed to, if you're not able to see it here, then you need to click on more so that you'll be taken to more than 100 data sources from which the data can be brought into Power BI. Okay, so first, let me bring the data from an Excel sheet or a CSV file. Okay, so what I'll
Yeah.
do, I'll just click on text bar CSV. Okay, text bar CSV, a comma separated file, or it's also called as flat file. Okay, so I'll click on this. I'll click on connect, and I'll point to the folder in which I store those files. So I'll just click on this. Okay, and then I'll just click on the file orders 2018. I'll click on open, and you see before the file is actually brought into Power BI, or the table or data set is brought into Power BI, it'll just give you a preview of what the data looks like. In terms of the columns and records. Okay, so I'll just click on load. So that's when it gets loaded into Power BI Desktop. And once it is done, you can see the table yourself in Power BI. So there's a bit of yeah, it says errors, but let me look into it. So let me go into this one. So here there are certain errors associated with it, but that we'll look into when we look into transform data, because this is solely due to transform data thing. But currently, in order to get rid of the error, what I'll do is I'll just remove this column so that it gets loaded
Yeah.
correctly. So I'll close and apply. But later, when we come to transform the data, we'll look into error and we will debug the error by going into deep of it. Okay. So now I'll just show you the table view, how the data looks like. You see, this is what the data that has come from a CSV file or flat file into this. Okay. So this is the CSV or flat file. Now let's look into how to bring the data from Excel. Okay. So what I'll do, I'll keep the file same, and then I'll go to Home tab again, get data. Now I'll go to Excel workbook. Now you see I have one more file which says store cost, and it's in the form of Excel, a spreadsheet file basically. I'll just click on open, and now it will show me how many number of sheets are there in that Excel. Currently it has only one sheet, so I'll select that one, and you see I'll get the preview of what that table or what that sheet looks like. And again, I'll just load the data into Power BI Desktop, and you see this is how this table will look like. Okay, so yeah, this is the Excel sheet. Okay, and then now let's try to understand how the Power BI, how in the Power BI the data is brought into almost more than 90% of the time when you're working on any project in an organization. Usually what happens is that They bring the data into Power BI Desktop from some database in the backend. Now that database might be a simple SSMS, that is SQL Server Management Studio or MySQL, or it might be some other database like Oracle DB, IBM DB, or some data lake like Azure Synapse Data Lake. But yeah, the process for all of them is the same. The way to bring the data from all of those databases is uh, mostly similar. Okay, so let me show you how to do that. So first of all, I need to make sure that the SSMS or MySQL, whatever the source I'm bringing the data from, is running in my system. Okay, so I have the SSMS running here. Okay, I've opened it. Let me just connect to it, and let me just try to bring data from one particular database. Let's say AdventureWorks 2012. Let me have a look at some of the tables into it. Let me bring the data from sales dot sales order detail. Okay. So let's say if I select top 1,000 rows from here, so I'll get the preview of the data, how it looks like. Okay, so this is SSMS, which is running in my system. Okay, so let's try to bring the same table into Power BI Desktop by connecting to SSMS in the backend. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to go to the Home tab again, get data, and then SQL Server. I'll click on SQL Server, and then you need to click on server name as well as database name. Okay, so I have stored the server name of my, I mean, the SQL server of my system. So the server name is this. Yeah, and then I'll paste it here, and then the database name. Database in the sense I'll bring the data from, let's say, this thing, AdventureWorks 2012. So I'll enter that name. So AdventureWorks 2012, and I'll use import mode. I'll tell you the difference in different storage modes or different data connectivity modes, but right now I'm just bringing it into import mode. I'll tell you the significance of that later. So I'll just click on OK now. So I'll be taken to the preview of all the tables that are present in that database. You can see for yourself, all these tables are nothing but the same tables which appeared when I'm in the SQL server. So these are all those tables which it has given preview to. Okay. Now among these, I'll get the same table that I opened there, that is sales dot sales order detail. That is this one. I'll select this, so I'll get the preview of that table here as well. So now I'll simply load it so that that appears in Power BI as well. Now you see sales dot sales order detail. This is the table which is coming from SQL Server. Okay. Any doubt about this till now, people?
So, Pawan, I joined some
No,
5
thank you.
minutes late.
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah, I just missed how you went to this particular screen in Power BI desktop, the very first screen.
Come again. You?
No, the import part, no, the very first screen of
Yeah.
Power BI desktop. I just would like to see it again.
Okay.
Yeah, this particular screen.
This one.
Okay,
How we got it.
okay. So the next second tab, right? Okay.
Yeah. That's it. There are three views. There's a report view, then there is this table view, and then
Okay.
there is this data model view. Okay. Yeah. That's it.
So
So
Pawan,
now,
can we also get it the same view if we install, yeah, because I just installed the Power BI in my desktop.
uh-huh.
So can we also see the similar tabs? Yes, I can see it.
Yes, you can. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And you would like to so can we also practice along with you now, or what you
It would
prefer?
be better to listen the class carefully right now because the recordings will be loaded along with the
Mm-hmm.
data files. So it would be better if you listen carefully, and once the class is done, you can practice the class stuff, because I'll be sharing the data files as well. And once that is done, you can go through the assignment files as well. Okay. Yeah.
Fine. Okay. Okay.
Because anyways, the recordings will be there. Okay. So
Okay.
don't worry
Sure.
about that.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Pawan.
Yeah. So this is about bringing the data from SSMS, or basically SQL Server. Now let's try to bring the data from one more data source, that is MySQL. Okay, so I have that opened here as well. Okay, now you see, uh, I have opened this MySQL workbench, which is nothing but MySQL. Okay, so here I'll try to bring the data from some particular database from MySQL, and let's say I'll bring sales. No, just a second. Okay. Yeah. So first of all, you need to make sure that the database from which you're trying to bring the data into Power BI, that should be running. If that is not in running condition, you cannot bring the data. As simple as that. Okay. So let's try to connect to MySQL as well now. So get data. So you see, I'm not able to find MySQL here. So I'll click on more, and then here I'll search for MySQL. So here you see there is MySQL. And if you're not able to find it here, you can go for search button and you can definitely type there and it will search for you. Okay. So MySQL database, connect, and then again, I need to enter the server name and the database name. Uh, can you please mute yourselves? Thank you. Yeah. So now again, I need to enter the server name as well as the database name. Okay. So the server name in my case, MySQL server name, I've stored it here. It is, yeah, this one. And then the database, I can bring the database from any of the server. That is, let's see. Um, okay, yeah, let's bring the film database. So the data name is Sakila. So I'll enter that. So click on OK, so that I'll be taken to the tables which are present in this database. So I'll click on this particular films database. I'll click on load now, so that this thing will get loaded. Okay, now you see this is how this particular database looks like. It's the database basically related to films and their commercial aspects, okay, and some other details. Okay, so this is how it is. Any doubts till now, people?
So, Pawan, yeah, this is the various methods of what gathering the data in Power BI, right? We are
Correct. Yeah.
importing the data.
Yes.
So
Okay.
we can import the data from personal systems as well as cloud system and from
Correct.
SQL from any sources.
Yes. All you need to have is the access to those particular cloud systems or on-premise databases. Okay. So whenever the way it happens is whenever you start working for an organization, the first thing that they'll do is give you the access to your email ID for all those database systems. And once you have those accesses, you can access those and you can bring the data from those databases. Clear? Yeah.
Okay. Similarly, even for SQL also, right? SQL,
Yes.
majority of the companies, they will not provide to everyone, right?
Come again, majority of the companies, they
will not provide the access until SQL to their
see if
SQL systems.
okay, let's say if you're working as a BI developer or a data analyst for any company, and if they want you to work on their data, then they will have to give you the access. If they don't give you the access, then you cannot work for them, as simple as that. So they will give you the access. Okay.
So is SQL, is it a free version or is it chargeable for companies?
It's a chargeable.
Okay.
It also comes with a free access, which I have installed in my system. But yeah, it it is actually, I mean, it does actually cost to the companies. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
And just like SQL, there are other database system as well, like the Snowflake, like there is Oracle DB, IBM DB. I mean, lots of these databases are there. Okay. But it all depends on whichever your organization uses. But yeah, the procedure is same for all of them. You just need to enter the server name and database name, and then need to get the data from that. Clear?
Okay. Clear.
Okay. Now, let me show you one more thing. Here, if I go to my SQL server, now you see here, this is the table that I brought from the back. Okay. Now, just let's try to have a look at the columns that are there here and the significance of those columns. Now, you see there is this sales order ID, and this basically is the primary key for that table. Basically, this is a unique identifier. Each and every sales transaction is identified by this particular key, that is sales order ID. Then there is sales order detail ID. Then there is carrier tracking number. Then there is order quantity, prod ID, special offer ID, unit price, and all the rest of the details. Now, let's say you're trying to filter out the data, meaning, let's say you want to bring in, let's say, the orders where the order quantity is greater than or equal to 5, not less than that. Is that clear? The requirement in the first place. You want to only bring the records where order quantity is greater than or equal to 5. Is the requirement clear, people? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Hmm. Now, in
Greater
that
than or
case,
equal to 5.
yeah, okay. So in that case, if you just want to see those records in SQL Server, what do? You write a simple query, select star from so-and-so table where order quantity is greater than equal to 5, right? But the same thing you can do in Power BI as well to extract the filtered data. Let me show you how. Okay. Now you see, I'll just delete this sales order detail, and let me show you how to bring the filtered data into this by writing the SQL query while being in Power BI. Okay. So I'll go to get data again, SQL Server, and then again the database name and server name, which I stored it here, the server name, and the database name is Adventure Works 2012. Okay, so okay. And then here there is one advanced options, and there you need to click on, and here basically you can write the SQL query. Let me show you what you can do. I'll write a simple query. Select star from uh, sales dot sales order detail. That's basically the table name. Okay, where order quantity QTY. That's the column name. If you see, order QTY is the column name. Order QTY is what? Greater than or equal to 5. That's it. If I click on OK now you see I'll directly get the filtered data. filtered data. Let me load and show it to you. This new table I'm trying to upload, it will be having the order quantity greater than or equal to 5, not less than it. Can you see this, people? Is that clear?
Yeah.
So yeah,
But if we
the
don't
bottom line
know,
is,
if we don't know the table, how we will extract it from the Power BI itself?
come again, if you don't know the table,
If we don't know the table, how we can extract the same data in the Power BI itself?
I mean, if you don't know the table, then you cannot, because you should know the table name, right?
No, no, the order quantity what you wrote as equal to or greater than 5. How we can do it in Power BI itself without adding a SQL query in
That
that.
also I'll tell you. That we can do in Power BI as well while we are dealing with transformations in Power Query Editor. We can do the same transformation in Power BI or Power Query Editor as well. But this I'm solely telling you because if we try to do this, I mean, if I do this, then the transformation is actually not happening in Power BI. The transformation is happening in the backend in SQL Server. So that will kind of
Yeah, yeah.
optimize the performance of your Power BI model. Okay. So that's the reason.
Okay.
Okay. But nonetheless, I'll tell you how to edit or transform the data while you are in Power BI as well. Okay. So that you need not worry about. The filtering or transformation part of how we do it in Power BI or Power Query Editor, that will be discussed in detail. Currently, is this thing understood?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, these are the different ways in which the data can be brought into Power BI. Okay, so basically we discussed how to bring the Excel data, how to bring the CSV or flat file data, or how to bring the data when it is coming from any database, basically. Okay, you need to enter the database name and the server name, and that's it. You have the access to all the tables in that particular database. Okay, so that's how you can bring the data into Power BI. Okay. Now, while we brought the data into Power BI, you saw there was one option that is direct query and import. Remember that, people? Especially when we brought the data from this one. Let me try to show it to you again. If I go to get data, SQL Server, now you see you have import and direct query, right? There are two ways. Let's try to understand what these two things are. Okay. So first of all, let's try to understand the import mode, because till now we have brought the data into Power BI by using import mode. Okay. So let's try to understand what is the import mode in the first place. So here, when we say import mode of storage, or this is the way, this is basically the way in which we bring the data, one of the ways in which we bring the data into Power BI, or it's also called as storage mode. Okay, I'll just write it. Yes, yeah, storage modes. One of the storage modes is import. Now, what happens in import mode is the data is actually brought into PBI desktop itself. Okay, meaning all the tables, including the columns and records, they are actually brought into Power BI desktop and they occupy space in Power BI desktop.
As it is.
Okay, as it is. Okay, just like it is there in the back end, it comes into front end, which is Power BI, and it's like copying and pasting. Okay, you're creating the duplicate. One image is there in the back end, but the same data will also come into the front end, that is Power BI. Okay, it's just like copy and paste or duplicating the data. Okay, but what happens here, There's an engine in Power BI desktop which is called Vertipack compressor engine. This, what it does, it basically, once the data is brought into Power BI desktop by import mode, this Vertipack compressor engine, it basically compresses the data to certain extent. Okay, but it is important to understand that why it compresses the data, it doesn't get rid of any amount of data, meaning you will find all the columns and all the rows which are there in the backend, they will also be visible in the front end. This will just compress it in terms of memory usage. Is that clear, people? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, next thing. Now, here, let's say I brought the data from here. Okay. Let's say, let's consider this orders 2018. This was the Excel file, right? The Excel file which was uh, brought that, I mean, from where we brought the data, Excel file, or I think it was CSV or flat file. Okay. This is how the data is in the backend. Now let's say in the backend, okay, let's presume in the backend, in that file, the original file from where we brought the data, they added some more rows or records. Okay, in the backend, they altered the data, or they added some columns or rows, or basically they added some new data into it. It will not come directly into Power BI desktop until and unless you press what button? The refresh button. Only once you refresh the data in Power BI desktop when you are in import mode, only then you will get the latest data. Else, let's say if you go on changing the data in the backend without pressing the refresh button in Power BI, the data in backend will be different, the data in front end will be different. Is that clear?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, great. Now, one more thing. Here, when you bring the data from backend to front end in import mode, you can always see the table view. This is the table view where you can see the rows and columns, basically records on your own. Okay, so you can see it here, not just in the backend, but also here. Okay.
Okay.
Now, let's talk about one more thing, that is direct query mode. Okay. So let's go here and let me write one more thing, that is tables can be viewed in the data view or table view. Okay, this is about the import. Now let's talk about direct query. Direct query. Yeah. So for that, what I'll do is I'll open a new PBI instance. Okay. I'll go to blank report again, and then I'll try to get the data from SQL Server. The only difference this time would be, instead of using the import mode, I'll be using the direct query approach. Okay. So just a second. Yeah. Now here, instead of import mode, which I used earlier, I'll use the direct query mode. And again, I need to enter the same server names of SQL Server and the database name. Adventure Works 2012. And not import mode, I'll use the direct query mode this time. Click on OK and bring the same table. Sales stock, sales order, detail. Where is it? Yeah, this one. And I'll load it into Power BI Desktop. Now, once I do that, you will see one important thing. Now, you see there is this table which we have brought in, but the main thing is that you cannot see the table view. Can you see the table view?
No.
Now you see there is only report view and the model view. In model view, you can see the column names, and even in here, you can see the column names, but you cannot see the actual data or actual records on your own in Power BI Desktop when you are in direct query mode. Okay.
Mm.
Now, let me tell you what actually happens in the direct query mode. Okay. When we are in the import mode, the data is actually brought into Power BI Desktop, just like copying and pasting it from backend to front end. But here what happens is that a connection is made between PBI and backend, meaning the data actually stays in the backend itself. Currently, you see, the data is in SQL Server itself, but what we have in the Power BI is just its view. We can just view it in Power BI Desktop. It actually doesn't exist in Power BI Desktop. Is that clear?
Okay. So only headings will appear, right?
No, I mean, if you try to make a visual, you can do that. Visualizations, all the data manipulations, you can see. But all I'm saying is, even if we do it now, let's say I'm going way ahead of myself, but let me just show it. Let's say order quantity by product ID. Okay, you see order
We can
quantity
see only
by,
the header. We can see all the headers. Whatever we need, only those we can select now
yeah, the
from
thing is,
data.
you can see the, I mean, let me show, even to make sense, let me make a table view so that you can see the these things. Let's try to understand product ID. Let me not get the count of it. Don't summarize. And then let me get the order ID. Now you see, you can see the table view as well in the visualizations, not in the actual tables. Okay. So this is how the table is. But the meaning is you cannot see the table view that is actually there in this. Okay. You can make the visualizations out of it. Okay. You can create the report out of it, but you cannot have the table view just like we have in the import mode. And the sole reason for that is this data which you're seeing here, I mean, you are just seeing its view, but the data actually is existing in the backend itself. And the backend here is what? SQL Server.
Okay.
Is
So
that clear?
in this particular scenario, Power BI will not contain any of the space. Everything
Yeah,
is
correct.
from
It will
server.
not occupy any space in Power BI. Okay.
Okay. No need of that Veripack
Yes.
compressor engine also to
Multi-pack
be required.
compressor engine. No, nothing. Okay. Data stays in the backend. Okay. So no compressor engine required. Okay. Won't occupy any space in Power BI. As simple as that. Clear?
Okay. Yeah, it's clear. So I just have a
Now,
doubt on the
one,
first one.
one more thing, just a second.
The
Okay, let me
hmm,
complete this.
yes, sir.
Now, one more thing is that you see, while we were in import mode, I told that if you want to see the new data, you have to press refresh button. Remember? Only then the new records will appear. But here
Yeah,
that is not the case. Whenever the new data gets added in the back end, it will appear in the front end automatically. Okay.
very real time.
So no need for refreshing it. Is that clear?
Yep.
And one more difference is that you cannot see the tables on their own in Power BI Desktop when you're bringing the data from direct query. Okay. Now, I'll tell you the advantages and disadvantages associated with both. Okay, so first let's try to understand some of the advantages and disadvantages of the import mode. Okay, now the import mode, the performance of your dashboard will be fast, and the sole reason for that would be, anyone?
Because it's in Power BI itself, not on the server.
Correct. The performance of your report, or the way in which it operates, the way in which the visualizations appear, it would be swift. And the reason for that is the data is actually into Power BI. Okay, every time you open a visualization, it's not trying to get the data from the backend. Okay, and solely for this purpose, it would be faster compared to direct query mode. That is one thing. Next thing. Okay, let's say if your backend, let's say if your server is slow, or let's say if your backend SQL server is running slow, or sometime it has stopped. Okay, but still, if you are in import mode, your visualizations will show up because it has data in itself as well. Until or
Uh,
unless you want to see the refreshed data, it has the older version of the data, right? So you can see the visuals or reports even if the backend server is down. However, in this case, when you're working in direct query mode, if your server or backend server it becomes slow, or if it gets shut down or stopped, then what happens to the front end report? The front end report will not show up any visuals. And the reason for that is the data in your front end is not actually in the front end when you're working in direct query mode. It has just created a connection between Power BI and backend. And hence, if the backend is stopped or slow, or the status is not running, then you cannot see the visuals. As simple as that. Clear?
Yeah,
yes.
one question, Pawan. If we
Mhm.
do make any of the changes in the Power BI, will it
Hmm.
updates the server as well?
No.
Will not update
Whether
the
you are in
same.
import mode or whether you are in direct query mode, if you make any changes in Power BI, that won't affect the backend. Is that clear?
Okay. Okay. Perfect.
What? Yeah, that is clear. Fine. Now, one more thing is, let's try to understand the advantage of this, or let me say the so-called advantage of direct query mode, which has been, I mean, uh, which has been kind of stated by Microsoft themselves, but it still is not an advantage. Okay, what they say is the reason Microsoft has created the direct query mode is, let's say your magnitude of data. Okay, data is in terms of, I mean, let's say the data is huge in the sense, let's say somewhere around 100 million, 200 million records. Okay, 100 or 200 million rows. That big data, if it is there, then you need not worry about bringing that data into Power BI and compress that data, because if you keep it in the backend, it is sorted, right? You need not worry about what will be the memory size of your the PBX file you're working on and all that stuff. Okay, but currently the thing is that that is actually not an advantage, because if you have the premium per user access, or if you have premium license of Power BI, which most of the organizations that you'll be working on will be having it. Okay, what they do is they provide currently, for one file they will provide you the limit of 10 GB, 10 GB, and it can go on till 100 GB. So just imagine from, I mean, 10 GB to 100 GB per file, then you need not worry about the memory constraint at all. And also the systems that you will be working on, if you're handling the higher files, higher memory size files, the RAMs of those systems will be at least 24 to 32 GB. So that is actually not a concern. You can bring the huge amount of data while you are in import mode as well. But there's one more disadvantage of direct query mode. If you're working in direct query mode, you will you will sometimes miss out on, let me write it, okay, some of the Power Query transformations won't be available or won't be working to use. Okay? And not just that, some of the DAX functions also won't be DAX functions won't be available to use. Okay? So what are these things? So Power Query transformations are the way or the functions by using which you can transform the data. The DAX functions are the functions by which you can create the calculated columns or the measures. Some of these functionalities will not be available to use when you're working in direct query mode. But if you're working in import mode, you can use the 100% functionality of Power BI without worrying about any of these things. Okay, so that is the difference between the direct query mode and input. Is that clear?
Yeah, Pawan. But import mode, is there, do we see any delays when we import the data? Will it take more time?
Yes, yes, yes. The thing is, let's say you're working in an import mode, okay, and you have a huge amount of data. Like let's say, as I said earlier, 100 billion or 200 million rows, or billions of rows, let's say. Okay, for example, if you work for some huge supply chain management company like the beverages company like PepsiCo or Coca-Cola. So their supply chain will be very huge, and the records you will be dealing with will be in terms of 100 million, 200 million, sometimes even in terms of billions. If you take on whole years of record, because they will be having the distribution worldwide, and when I mean worldwide, then in different countries, different states in the different countries, different districts, and it just goes on becoming very huge. In that
Yes.
case, the backend data becomes very huge in terms of GBs. And the problem you will face is if you press the refresh button, it will go on refreshing till, let's say, 1 or 2 hours. Okay, currently, let me show you, it will refresh within 1 or 2 minutes. Okay, this errors will look into later, but
Mhm.
currently we have a smaller data and it will refresh within 1 or 2 minutes. But if you have a huge data, it will take on, I mean, it will get refreshed in a bit of time. Sometimes, let's say, currently I'm working in one project which has, I think, somewhere around 20 million records in one particular table. So it takes around 12 minutes to get refreshed, okay, that particular table, okay. But it all depends. But let's say if your backend data is huge and your refresh is taking somewhere around 2 hours, 3 hours, or such things, then there is one more thing which is called as incremental refresh that can be used. Okay? Incremental refresh. Incremental refresh basically it lowers the refresh time by significant amount. But this we'll discuss in detail later once we are done with the course, because that's when we need to know it. Okay, because there are lots of things which need to cover before we get into this stuff. Clear?
Okay.
Hmm.
So,
And one more
one,
thing, just a second, one more thing. Import mode, when you bring the data into import mode, you might bring the data from CSV, Excel, SQL Server, or any database. Okay, but direct query mode is available only for what? Databases, not the CSV, flat file, or Excel files. Okay, direct query mode is only for database. Let me write only for databases. Clear? Yeah, please ask the doubt now.
So actually you answered my question. Yeah. So the for the import mode we can export in import in any formats like
Hmm.
Excel or
Hmm.
even binary mode or anything we can
Whatever it
import.
is, yeah. Hmm. Hmm.
But this databases I did not get only for databases.
Databases in the sense SQL Server, MySQL Server,
Okay,
Oracle
got
DB,
it.
IBM DB, or maybe data lake like Azure Synapse Data Lake. Okay, so all those things, those can be direct queried. Nothing else can be. Okay,
Okay, understood.
great. So yeah, so this is about the differences between import mode and direct query mode and the significances of the same. Now, there's one more thing called as live connection. So what is live connection? Live connection is very, very similar to direct query mode. Okay, first let me write it. Almost same as direct query mode. Only difference is that it brings data in the cube form, or basically it brings the data from the backend sources which provide the data in the cube form. Do you know what is meant by cube form of data? Yes, people. For example, Azure Databricks, it provides the data in the cube form. Let me just try to show you how the data in the cube form looks like. Okay. Let's type yeah, this one. Okay. Now you see, is this visible in the first place, people? Okay. Now you see here we have three axes. One is this axis of products, which you're seeing it as a y-axis. Then there is one more axis, z-axis, which you're seeing the timeline from Jan 2015 till May 2015. Clear? Now let's say in the x-axis we have the measures. Now what are measures? Measures are some quantities which can be analyzed upon. Let's say this measure here is sales. This measure here is, let's say, order quantity. Now let's say if this is sales, then what will this cube represent? Sales of components in 2015 Jan. Agree?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Let's say this is order quantity. Here we have order quantity. Then what it represents? Say this cube represents, or let's say this cube, it represents
order quantity
order
for
quantity
clothing.
of clothing
Of
in
clothing.
2015 Jan. Is it clear? So this is what the cube form of data will look like. Okay. Now coming back to our discussion. So live connection brings the data in the cube form. Okay. From the sources like Azure Databricks and other similar data sources. So it is very much similar to direct query mode apart from this fact. Okay. Hopefully that makes it clear. Now, then there is one more storage mode, that is composite or hybrid. So what is the thing about this is some of the tables are brought in the import mode and some are brought in direct query mode. It's like that. Okay, that is what we call composite or hybrid mode of storage. Some tables are brought in import mode while others are brought in hybrid, not sorry, direct query. Right? So this is the difference between all the different storage modes. Hopefully it is understood, people. And this is
Yeah,
very important to be known because this thing will be asked in the Power BI interviews as well. Okay.
okay. So in the last category, composite and hybrid, on the
Uh-huh.
hybrid,
Uh-huh.
so you said few data are from through import mode and few
Yeah.
data through query mode. So do
Correct.
we have options to select which are the data we need to bring it in import
Yeah,
and which?
exactly. I mean, while bringing, let's say you are trying to bring a new table, okay? While bringing that table from the database, you have the option to choose between import and direct query, right? So that you
Yeah.
can do. Let's say if I try to bring on an SQL server, now you see you have the import mode or you can bring it from the direct query. Clear? So this is where you can switch it from.
Okay. So you don't have access for that, right?
What do you mean?
The hybrid one. So you said that hybrid,
Uh-huh.
where we get that option?
See, okay, okay. I mean, you understood it in a different way. Now let's say we have now this table is brought in the direct query mode, understood? But let's
Mhm.
say I bring one more table, I bring it in the import mode, then this PBI model will be called as hybrid model because
Okay.
one table is in
Okay.
import mode and another table is in direct query mode. Understood? There is
Okay.
not no such hybrid mode available. Okay. Our
Mhm.
model becomes a hybrid model because we have brought one table in the import and another table in the direct query. Clear?
Okay. Understood. Understood now.
Okay. Fine then. Anything, I mean, I'd like to conclude here today. Any other doubts from anyone, please?
So Pawan, actually, I needed any of this data for practicing because I don't have such tables. No, I
Mhm.
have it. I have it, but I don't know how to save it or something. So do we get
Uh,
any OneDrive or something with the data, sample data for practicing?
See, the thing is, once I start working on Power Query Editor, that is from tomorrow's class,
Mhm.
after each and every class, I'll give you the data so that you can practice those transformations by yourselves. Okay. I'll provide you the CSV or flat files or Excel files, the ones which I
Okay.
use. Okay.
Okay.
But yeah, if you want to practice bringing the data from databases, then you first need to install those databases in your system. Like I have installed SSMS and MySQL Server in my system. You need to have those in your systems, and then you need to upload the data into those databases or those servers, and then get the data from that. Clear?
Okay. Clear.
So in order to avoid this hassle, I just directly provide the CSV or flat files or Excel sheets so that you can easily practice with that. Okay. But yeah, anyways, you know how to bring the data from these databases as well, because that has been discussed today. So need not worry about that. Okay,
Okay.
fine
So
then.
And
is
for
that
mm,
is it our responsibility to create the CSV file
No,
in the
the CSV
open book?
file, Excel sheet, I'll be providing you. Let me just
No,
show
no, no.
you.
And in the companies, they
Okay. In the
provide the do
companies,
they
in most of the projects, yeah, I'll get that. Okay. In companies, in most of the project, let's say more than 95% of the time, you will be working on the database data. Okay. So they will give you the access to that. And if they are using some CSV or flat files, they will give you access to those files as well. Okay. You need not create the data on your own because data will be coming from some or other system. It might be some bank transaction system, some customer will be entering that data, or some vendor system where vendor will be entering the data, or some operation systems where engineers will be entering the data based on the processes that they are doing. Okay. So you will not create the
got it?
data, but you will certainly import the data. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, got it. Okay.
Any other questions, people?
No, thank you.
Yeah. So I'll stop the recording.